What if the single greatest obstacle to your success isn't your lack of talent, your environment, or your competition, but the sound of your own voice? Most people operate under the illusion that to be heard, they must speak. To be respected, they must explain. To be validated, they must announce every intention and justify every action. We live in an era that demands constant performance, where silence is mistaken for weakness and restraint is seen as hesitation. But look at those who truly command their own lives. They aren't the ones screaming into the digital void, defending their choices to people who don't matter, or seeking approval from crowds that will forget them by tomorrow. They are the ones who operate from a place of calculated, deliberate stillness. They understand a truth that the ancient Stoics mastered centuries ago. The moment you speak prematurely, you leak energy. The moment you justify yourself, you hand over your authority. Today you are going to discover why silence is the ultimate weapon of the disciplined mind. We aren't talking about mere shyness or social withdrawal. We are talking about a strategic deployment of your presence. Once you master this, you stop being a passenger in your own life and start being the architect of your reality. You will no longer react to the chaos of the world. You will dictate how that world affects you. If you are ready to stop performing and start evolving, listen closely. This is the path to becoming truly unstoppable. Most people believe their lives are defined by what they do. In reality, your life is defined by what you lose, specifically the energy you bleed out every single day without even realizing it. This is the invisible leak, the compulsive need to fill every silence with words, to broadcast every intention, and to seek external confirmation for internal decisions. Imagine your energy as a reservoir. Every goal you set, every ambition you hold, and every plan you formulate requires a specific amount of psychological fuel to bring to fruition. When you keep those plans internal, when you hold that vision in the silence of your own mind, that fuel is concentrated. It creates pressure. That pressure is what drives you to wake up at 5 a.m., to endure the grind, and to push past the moments where others quit. But the moment you speak those plans aloud to someone who hasn't earned the right to hear them, that pressure is released. The mechanism here is subtle but devastating. Social validation provides a temporary dopamine hit. When you tell a friend, "I'm going to build this empire," and they respond with, "That's amazing," your brain perceives a pseudo-accomplishment. You feel as if you've already done the work, which subconsciously lowers your drive to actually execute. You have traded the difficult, quiet work of building for the easy, fleeting pleasure of being heard. This is the hidden problem that keeps the majority of humanity in a state of perpetual stagnation. We are addicted to the announcement phase of life. We want the credit before we've provided the value. We want the applause before we've mastered the craft. The Stoics identified this as a form of vanity that fractures your focus. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, frequently reminded himself that the opinions of others, even their praise, are meaningless because they are external to your own virtue. When you seek their opinion on your path, you are essentially asking them to steer your ship. Furthermore, this constant outward flow of communication keeps your nervous system in a state of high alert. You are constantly scanning the room for reactions, constantly measuring your words for effect, and constantly adjusting your personality to fit the expectations of your audience. You are living as a product for others to consume, rather than a sovereign individual building something of substance. To be unstoppable, you must first seal this leak. You must recognize that the most significant chapters of your life should be written in the silence of your own actions, not in the noise of your public declarations. You are leaking your power because you are trying to convince the world of your value, instead of simply demonstrating it. Most people spend their lives reacting. Few learn the power of remaining calm, silent, and in control. If something in today's message resonated deeply with you, It's because a stronger version of yourself is trying to emerge. Thousands have already discovered the principles inside the silent power, and many say they wish they had learned them years earlier. Plus 5 exclusive bonuses. The silent power reveals timeless Stoic lessons for mastering emotions, building unshakable confidence, commanding respect without speaking, and developing the mental strength that cannot be broken by criticism, rejection, or adversity. The question is simple: will you continue reacting to life, or start mastering it? Get instant access through the first pinned comment and begin your journey toward true self-mastery today. We have established that silence is a reservoir of power. But why is it so incredibly difficult to maintain? It is because you are currently living in the default trap. This is a psychological conditioning, a habit loop that has been installed in you by your environment, your technology, and the modern cultural demand for constant availability. Most people believe they are choosing to react, but they are not. They are merely responding to stimuli like a reflex. You hear a notification, you check it. Someone posts an opinion you disagree with, you feel the immediate, burning need to argue. You face a setback, you immediately announce your frustration to gain sympathy. This is not a choice. It is a neurological default setting. When you are in this state, you are not the one driving the vehicle of your life. You are merely a passenger at the mercy of every external event that crosses your path. The error is simple. You have equated speed of response with intelligence. You feel that if you don't reply to the email within seconds, or if you don't voice your opinion immediately, you are losing relevance. You think that by staying silent or delaying your reaction, you are falling behind. This is the ultimate lie of the modern era. In reality, the person who reacts instantly is the person who is most easily manipulated. When you react quickly, you are acting on emotion, ego, and biological impulses. You are revealing your hand. You are showing the world exactly what buttons to push to control your energy. The Stoics looked at this differently. They understood that there is a gap, a vital, sacred space between a stimulus and your response. In that space lies your freedom. The default trap occurs because you have allowed that gap to shrink to zero. You have eliminated the pause. You are living in a continuous state of impulse action. This keeps you stagnant because your energy is constantly being diffused, sprayed like a mist in every direction, rather than being focused like a laser on the one or two things that actually move the needle for your life. Think about your day. How many times did you react to something that had zero impact on your long-term goals? How many times did you feel anxiety over a headline, a comment, or a minor conflict? Each time you did that, you were feeding the trap. You were practicing being a person who can be moved by trivialities. To break this, you must consciously widen that gap. When a notification pings, don't pick up the phone immediately. When someone insults you, don't fire back. When the urge to explain yourself arises, bite your tongue. By choosing to delay your reaction, you are doing something revolutionary. You are reclaiming your autonomy. You are telling your brain, I am the master here, not the stimulus. This is the first step toward breaking the cycle of mediocrity. You aren't just changing a habit, you are changing your operating system. You are moving from a state of being a reaction to a state of being an action. We have addressed the leaks and the reactive trap, but knowing the problem isn't the same as having a solution. You need a mechanism, a concrete daily practice that the ancient Stoics used to cultivate their unshakable inner fortress. This is what I call the vault of presence. It is a habit so simple that most people ignore it, yet so powerful that it creates an impenetrable barrier against the noise of the world. The core of this habit is the morning seal. In the modern world, we wake up and immediately hand our consciousness over to the world. You check your phone, you read the news, you open your emails. You are effectively opening the gates of your mind to every demand, criticism, and distraction that exists in the digital sphere before you have even brushed your teeth. You are inviting the chaos to set your agenda for the day. The Stoic practice is the polar opposite. Before you engage with anyone, before you open an app, check a notification, or speak a single word, you must establish a seal. This is a period of absolute non-negotiable silence dedicated solely to self-alignment. During this time, you do not input information. You only review your intent. Think of it as a vault. You are locking your core values and your primary objectives inside, away from the prying eyes and competing agendas of the world. This is not meditation in the sense of clearing your mind until you reach a blank state. This is active, disciplined preparation. You ask yourself, what is the one thing I must accomplish today that aligns with my long-term sovereignty? And what distractions am I likely to encounter that I will refuse to react to? By doing this, you are programming your responses before the stimuli even arrive. When a colleague tries to bait you into drama, you remember the promise you made in the silence of your morning. When an unexpected crisis pops up, you aren't shocked. You've already anticipated that the world is chaotic. You have fortified your mind. This habit creates a buffer zone in your nervous system. Throughout the day, when you feel the urge to lash out, to over-explain, or to seek validation, you draw upon the strength of that morning silence. You realize that you have already solidified your identity, so you don't need the external world to define it for you. Most people never practice this. They live in a state of fragmented attention where their focus is shattered within seconds of waking. They are constantly playing catch-up, trying to fix the problems that others have introduced into their day. The person who practices the vault of presence, however, is the one who initiates. You are no longer defending, you are advancing. You are moving through your day with a quiet intensity that people notice but cannot replicate because they haven't done the internal work. This habit is the difference between being a victim of circumstance and a master of your own timeline. It is the practice of protecting your most valuable asset, your attention, from being stolen by the world, one notification at a time. Why are we, as human beings, so biologically programmed to speak, react, and broadcast? To understand why you feel the urge to break your silence, you must look at the evolutionary mechanism that controls your behavior. This is not just a habit, it is a primal survival tactic that has gone rogue in the modern world. From an evolutionary standpoint, human beings are social creatures who survived through tribal cohesion. If you were a hunter-gatherer living 50,000 years ago, your survival depended on your status within the group. To be ignored by the tribe was to be vulnerable to predators. To be misunderstood by the tribe was to risk ostracization, which was a death sentence. Therefore, your brain developed a social status monitoring system. This system is constantly scanning your environment, looking for cues of approval or rejection. When you post on social media, share an unfulfilled plan, or engage in a heated argument, you are attempting to trigger this prehistoric system. You are looking for a signal from your tribe that you are valid, that you are right, and that you are secure. This is why silence feels dangerous to your nervous system. Silence feels like being invisible. If you aren't broadcasting, the primitive part of your brain assumes you are being forgotten, and if you are forgotten, you are not safe. However, the mechanism is fundamentally flawed for the 21st century. Today, you are not trying to survive a winter in the wilderness. You are trying to build a sovereign life. When you feed that primitive desire for social signaling, you are actually sacrificing your long-term cognitive development. Every time you seek that hit of dopamine from external validation, you are training your brain to prioritize the opinion of the herd over the truth of your own path. Psychologists call this the action planning bias. When you tell people your goals, your brain experiences a premature sense of completion. You feel as though you have already done the work because you have successfully communicated your intent to the tribe. This reduces the psychological tension, the very tension that is required to actually put in the hours of hard, silent work. You are effectively killing your own motivation by satiating it with cheap, empty words. To be unstoppable, you must override this ancient code. You must realize that the need to be heard is a glitch in your survival software. It is a vestige of a time when your social standing was the only thing that kept you alive. Today, your value is not determined by how many people acknowledge your plans, but by the tangible reality you produce through your actions. When you feel that internal itch to explain yourself, recognize it for what it really is: a primitive, fear-based response that has no place in your current strategy. You are not a creature of the tribe looking for safety. You are an architect of your own reality. By understanding this, you move from being a slave to your biology to being a master of your own psychological landscape. To understand that silence is not merely a modern productivity hack, but a foundational pillar of history's most effective leaders, we must look at the life of Cato the Younger. While many know of Marcus Aurelius or Seneca, Cato represents the archetype of the silent wall. He was a man of immovable principle in a Rome crumbling under the weight of ambition, greed, and impulsive public posturing. Cato operated on a simple, often misunderstood premise. He never sought the applause of the masses, nor did he feel the need to justify his virtues to those who would never understand them. During the chaotic final days of the Roman Republic, while his peers were busy broadcasting their intentions, bribing the public with grand speeches, and desperately trying to sway the opinion of the Senate, Cato remained stoically silent. He didn't explain his opposition to corruption. He simply voted against it. He didn't write manifestos to defend his morality. He lived it until his choices became an undeniable fact of his existence. History records that Cato's silence was more intimidating to his enemies than the loudest proclamations of his rivals. Why? Because the person who explains themselves is a person who can be bargained with. The person who justifies their morality is a person who admits that their morality is up for debate. Cato refused to play that game. When he faced political ruin, he didn't run to the people to explain his victimization. He accepted the consequences with an eerie, composed stillness. This wasn't passive resignation. It was the highest form of active resistance. By refusing to engage in the noise of the political theater, he kept his power, his clarity, and his integrity entirely intact. His enemies had no leverage over him because he never gave them the satisfaction of his reaction. He knew that the moment you enter the arena of public opinion, you lose your sovereignty. This historical case study reveals the psychological truth that has been ignored for centuries. Silence acts as a shield against manipulation. When you are silent, you remain an enigma. You are an unpredictable variable in a world that thrives on predictable reactions. When you speak, you provide the map of your mind to others. You tell them exactly what you fear, what you desire, and where you are vulnerable. Think of how often you have weakened your own position by over-explaining. You have a vision for your life, and you feel the need to justify it to your family, your friends, or your peers, hoping they will get it. But in doing so, you have invited them to judge it, to offer their unsolicited advice, and to plant seeds of doubt in your own mind. Cato proved that greatness does not require an audience. If your work is truly valuable, it will speak louder than any justification you could ever provide. The people who are truly unstoppable in history are not the ones who spent their time arguing for their place in the world. They were the ones who were too busy constructing their own worlds to notice the noise. This is the lesson of the architect's silence. Stop acting like a candidate for office in your own life. Stop campaigning for approval. Build your fortress, work in the shadows, and let the results be the only response you ever offer to the world. You have understood the historical precedent, the biological trap, and the necessity of the vault of presence. But philosophy without application is merely entertainment. To transform your brain, you must move from the realm of theory into the realm of action. You need a crucible, a temporary controlled environment where you force yourself to break the addiction to noise. I call this the silence protocol. This is a 24-hour exercise designed to recalibrate your nervous system. For one full cycle of the sun, you will subject yourself to a self-imposed regime of strategic silence. The rules are simple, but their effect is profound. First, no non-essential communication. You will not send a single text, email, or direct message that is not required for your survival or your absolute professional obligations. No checking social media, no commenting on posts, and no updating your status. You are effectively disappearing from the digital grid. This forces you to confront the social hunger I mentioned earlier. You will feel an itch to check, to respond, to be seen. When you feel that itch, do not scratch it. Observe it. Recognize it as the primitive survival software trying to regain control. Second, the 1-minute delay. In your real-world interactions, at home, at work, or in public, you must implement a mandatory 1-minute delay before answering any question or responding to any statement. If someone speaks to you, take a full breath, count to 60 in your mind, and then respond. You will find that 90% of what people say requires no response at all, and the other 10% becomes significantly more accurate when you wait. Third, the observation journal. Instead of broadcasting your thoughts to the world, you will keep a private notebook. Every time you feel the urge to vent, to explain, or to argue, you must write that thought down instead. You will be shocked by how foolish or trivial many of these urges seem once they are written on paper. This physical act extracts the energy from the impulse, moving it from your nervous system onto a page. Why do this? Because silence is a muscle. If you do not exercise it, it withers. Most of you have been talking to the world for years, and your silence muscle is atrophied. This 24-hour protocol is like the first day at the gym for a person who has never lifted a weight. It will be uncomfortable. It will feel like you are missing out. That feeling is the sound of your ego dying, and that is exactly what we want. You are testing your own resolve. You are proving to yourself that you do not need the validation of the tribe to function. When you survive these 24 hours, you gain something that no amount of reading can give you. The empirical evidence that you are independent of the noise. You are no longer guessing if you can be silent. You now know you can. This shifts your self-image from a needy seeker to a sovereign observer. Chapter 7. The Sovereign Awakening. The Final Transformation. We have traversed the entire landscape of your internal world. We have identified the leaks, dismantled the reactive traps, fortified your focus, and rewired your primitive survival software. You have seen that silence is not the absence of something. It is the presence of everything, the presence of your true self, stripped of the performances you've been trained to enact. But there is a final layer, a transformation of identity that turns these habits into a permanent state of being. Most people define themselves by their output, their status, and their influence on others. They are like reflections in a mirror. If the mirror is moved, the image disappears. To become truly unstoppable, you must move from being a reflection to being the light itself. This is the Stoic concept of autarkia, or radical self-sufficiency. It is the realization that your value, your peace, and your direction do not exist in the world. They exist within your capacity to govern yourself. When you reach this state, you stop practicing silence and start embodying it. You no longer struggle against the urge to react, because your identity is no longer tied to the outcome of external events. You become the immovable object. If the world praises you, you remain indifferent, for you know your own value. If the world attacks you, you remain unmoved, for you know your own truth. You have ceased to be a product of your circumstances and have become the source of your own meaning. This is the chosen one archetype, not as a title of ego, but as a condition of total responsibility. You accept that you are the only one who can define your path. You understand that your journey is not meant to be understood by everyone, because most people are still tethered to the very chains you have broken. By remaining silent in the face of their confusion, you are not being arrogant. You are being protective. You are protecting the sanctity of your vision until it is strong enough to stand on its own. Your final transformation is this. You stop searching. You stop searching for the right words to convince others. You stop searching for the perfect strategy to get the world to validate you. You stop searching for an external signal that you are enough. You recognize that the search was the distraction all along. You have arrived. You are the architect, the builder, and the judge of your own life. You will look back at the version of yourself that felt the need to explain, to justify, and to broadcast, and you will see someone who was simply afraid of their own power. Today, that fear ends. You are now a person who understands that the loudest voice in the room is rarely the one with the most authority. You are the one who listens, who observes, who acts with surgical precision, and who remains silent while others expend their energy on nothing. You have reclaimed your sovereignty. You are, finally, unstoppable. Most people spend their lives reacting. Few learn the power of remaining calm, silent, and in control. If something in today's message resonated deeply with you, it's because a stronger version of yourself is trying to emerge. Thousands have already discovered the principles inside the silent power, and many say they wish they had learned them years earlier. Plus, 5. Exclusive bonuses. The silent power reveals timeless Stoic lessons for mastering emotions, building unshakable confidence, commanding respect without speaking, and developing the mental strength that cannot be broken by criticism, rejection, or adversity. The question is simple. Will you continue reacting to life, or start mastering it? Get instant access through the first pinned comment and begin your journey toward true self-mastery today.